The jungle moon of Varel 7 was silent at night, too silent. Even the bugs and flying things had stopped making sounds. Eli Grant, a human scavenger, moved slowly through the overgrown ruins of an ancient alien city. His boots crunched against broken tiles and his flashlight flickered as he scanned the area. He was alone, far from the human colony, hunting for lost tech, tradable parts, or even food packs dropped by older expeditions. But tonight, something was watching him. He didn't know how he knew, but the hair on his arms stood up. His gut whispered, "Turn back," but Eli had been a soldier once, and fear didn't control him anymore. He stepped into what looked like an old training dome, half covered in vines and cracked crystal windows. Inside, moss had swallowed the floor, and shattered metal frames hung from the ceiling like forgotten bones. Eli crouched near a broken locker, pried it open, and smiled. Inside was an energy cell, rare and valuable. Suddenly, behind him, a low growl, deep and animalistic. Eli froze. The sound came again, closer this time. He stood up slowly and turned. His flashlight trembled in his hand as he pointed it toward the sound. Over. For a moment, there was nothing, just the glint of glass and vines. Then he saw her, a small figure crouched on a ledge above him, eyes glowing gold in the beam of his light. Fur covered her arms and shoulders, her claws long and sharp. Her mouth opened in a snarl, revealing pointed teeth. She looked like a predator, but she was tiny, no taller than a child, and too thin, like she hadn't eaten in days. "Leave," she growled, her voice rough. "Go away, human." Eli didn't move. He didn't reach for his weapon. He simply tilted his head and said calmly, "I'm not here to hurt you." The girl narrowed her eyes. She stayed crouched, ready to leap, but something in her face changed. Not her mouth, not her eyes, but her cheeks. A soft pink color bloomed there. She was blushing. She blinked fast and turned her head away, almost angry with herself. Then she vanished. Leaping into the dark like a ghost, Eli stood there, heart pounding. What the hell was that? He whispered. Not just a wild animal, not just a girl, something in between. He set up camp nearby, a small shelter dome that protected against rain and wind. He lit a warm fire stick and cooked a ration bar as the scent of warm food filled the air. Eli kept glancing toward the trees. He knew she was still watching. He left out some extra food beside a rock and went inside his tent. The night passed with no sound, no attacks, only the wind. When Eli woke the next morning, the extra food was gone, but something else was there, right beside the empty wrapper. Scratched into the dirt with a small claw. Not Beast. Eli stared at the words for a long time. She had written that she wanted him to know. He looked out toward the jungle where the trees moved gently in the wind. Then he smiled. "All right," he said softly. "Let's see who you really are." He didn't know it yet, but this tiny alien beast girl, the one who had growled at him in the dark, was about to change his life forever, and maybe he was about to change hers too. Eli didn't see her for 2 days, but he felt her. The silence in the jungle wasn't the same anymore. She was there, hiding, watching, always just out of sight. He left food again on the flat rock, a full protein bar and a clean bottle of water, and every morning, when he checked, it was gone. No mess, no crumbs, just gone. The third night, Eli tried something new. He sat by the fire and started talking, not to anyone, just out loud. "You know," he said, "unwrapping a ration bar, most folks would be scared of you." He took a bite and looked up at the trees. "But I've seen scarier," he continued. Chewing slowly, "I've seen creatures without hearts. Soldiers who enjoy hurting others." He tossed a second bar onto the flat rock nearby. You ran? You didn't hurt me." No answer, only the rustle of leaves. "I think you're hungry." Not dangerous, he added softly. And you're not a beast. Behind him, something shifted. Just for a second, he turned nothing there. That night, Eli didn't sleep well, not because he was scared, but because he kept thinking about those words scratched into the dirt. Not beast. When morning came, he stepped out of the shelter. The ration was gone again, and this time there was something new, a single flower, blue and glowing softly. Placed neatly where the food had been, a gift. Eli picked it up gently, his fingers brushing its soft petals. It pulsed with warmth. She had left it for him. Later that day, Eli visited the nearby village of Ketron settlers, a mix of alien farmers and traders. He asked them about the jungle girl, the beast. One old alien spat, "You stay away from that one. She was made in the labs during the war." Another added, "Hybrid, wild, not right in the head. She's killed before." A younger voice warned, "They sent hunters last year. Came back." Eli didn't believe it. The girl could have attacked him any night. She didn't. Back at camp that evening, Eli set a small device on the ground, a motion sensor with a silent camera, just to see. He pretended to sleep, eyes half closed, and hours later, the red light on the device blinked. She was there. The camera caught her crouching beside the fire, not eating, not growling, just sitting, looking into the flames like she didn't know what warmth meant. She looked younger than he thought, maybe the size of a 10-year-old. Though her eyes were older, her fur was tangled, and her claws looked cracked, but she held herself like someone who had learned to be careful. Eli waited. The next day, when he checked the recording, his breath caught in his throat. She had been crying silent tears that ran down her cheeks as she stared at the fire. The jungle girl had emotions, real ones, not a beast, not a weapon. Just a child. That night, he made a second bedroll and placed it beside the fire. Then he sat back and whispered into the trees, "You can stay here if you want. No tricks, no traps, just warmth." The wind moved through the branches, but no one answered. Still. Eli left the fire burning and slept in the shelter, half awake, half hopeful. By morning, the second bedroll was used. Slightly crumpled, warm, no footprints, no sounds, but she had come on the fourth night. She stepped into the firelight. Eli didn't move. He just looked at her, gently. She wore scraps of cloth tied across her chest and legs, but most of her body was covered in soft silver fur. Her claws were long, but she held them low, not raised. Her eyes met his, gold like a predator, but trembling like a scared child. She sniffed the air, then whispered, "Why? You fear me?" Eli answered, slowly, "Because I see the truth. You're not here to harm me. You're just alone." She blinked, and her cheeks turned red again. She growled, low, embarrassed, and turned away. But didn't run, not this time. She stepped back into the dark, leaving behind a fruit perfectly peeled. Placed beside the fire, it was her way of saying thank you, or maybe her way of saying, "Don't give up on me." Eli didn't. He smiled and whispered into the jungle, "Good night, little shadow." She didn't reply, but she didn't need to. Eli didn't know what to expect anymore. Every day she stayed a little longer near the fire. Every night the silence between them got softer, not heavier. The tiny alien girl didn't speak much. She would sit by the edge of the fire, never too close, but never too far. Sometimes she brought fruit. Sometimes small, glowing mushrooms. Once she even dropped a shiny crystal beside his foot and ran. He began calling her something. Not by name, she hadn't shared that. He just called her little one, and though she growled the first time he said it, he saw it again. That blush. That soft pink color on her cheeks that betrayed the growl, like her body hadn't decided if it wanted to scare him or trust him. Eli worked during the day repairing his small drone. She watched from the trees, head tilted, curious. She'd never Seen tech being fixed like that one afternoon while he was deep in repair. He looked up. She was standing right in front of him, staring at the drone. He froze. Not out of fear, but because it was the closest she had ever come. Just 2 steps away, her golden eyes were wide, and her claws stayed by her side. She sniffed once, then said, "What is that?" Eli smiled slowly. "It's a helper." He said, "A machine with wings. It flies and sees things far away." She blinked, then whispered, "Like birds." He nodded. She stared at the drone, then back at him. "You build things, not break." "Yeah," Eli said, his voice gentle. "I like to fix, for a moment." Her lips twitched, almost a smile, but then she shook her head quickly and stepped. "Back beasts don't smile," she muttered, half to herself. "You're not a beast," Eli said firmly. She looked at him sharply, her claws twitching, but her eyes softened. That night, Eli didn't sleep. He was thinking about what she had said. Beasts don't smile. Those weren't just words, they were rules someone had forced into her mind. Maybe the scientists who made her, maybe the soldiers who trained her, whoever they were, they'd tried to break something inside her. But it hadn't worked completely, because she was still blushing, still sharing food, still sitting near the fire. The next evening, Eli left something on the rock. Not food this time. A mirror, small and unbroken. He'd found it in a crashed escape pod weeks ago. He placed it beside the fire and said, "I thought you might want to see yourself." Then he went inside his tent. Not watching, she came, of course. He knew it by the way the fire flickered and the silence deepened. And then he heard a gasp, soft and startled. She was looking at her reflection. Her fingers touched her face, her fur, her eyes, her small, sharp teeth. She stared at herself like it was the first time she'd truly seen who she was. After a long pause, she whispered, "I look broken." Eli stepped out slowly, careful not to startle her. "You don't look broken to me," he said. "You look strong." Her eyes darted. To him, strong. She repeated, like the word didn't fit. He nodded. "Strong enough to stay alive. Strong enough to feel. That's more than most." She stared at him for a while. Then, without warning, she sat beside the fire. Not across from him. Not far beside him. He didn't move. He just sat too, breathing quietly. It felt like a small victory. Like a wall had cracked. She didn't speak again that night, but when he offered her a blanket, she didn't growl. She accepted it silently, pulling it around her shoulders before she disappeared into the trees. She whispered, "I had a name." Once Eli looked up. What was it? She hesitated, then turned away, her voice almost shaking. "Kiri." Eli smiled. "Good night, Kiri." And for the first time since they met, she didn't growl, she didn't run. She nodded, asterisk, Kiri didn't return the next night, nor the night after that. Eli sat by the fire, staring into the flames. The jungle felt colder without her. Even the trees seemed quieter. Like they were holding their breath. He kept the second bedroll laid out, the fruit bowl full, the fire lit, but no golden eyes appeared in the dark. No soft steps, no growl, nothing. Then, on the third day, the sound of engines, low and heavy. Eli stepped out of his shelter and saw a hovercraft descending near the edge of the ruins. Dust and leaves blew everywhere. He raised his hand to shield his face, watching carefully. 3 figures stepped out, armored, armed, and moving like hunters. One of them, a tall alien in red, Garrett approached him with a cold stare. "We're searching the area," he said flatly. "Stay out of the way." Eli didn't like his tone. "What are you looking for?" he asked, though he already guessed. The alien pulled up a holomage. A younger version of Kiri, wild, chained, snarling, was displayed in the blue light. "Genetic experiment," the alien said. "Ran away from the lab. property of Quiso. The Zarn military division, she's not property, Eli said quietly. She's a child. She's a weapon, the hunter replied. Unstable, they moved past him. Scanning the jungle with high-tech trackers, Eli's hands curled into fists. He had to find Kiri before they did. That night, Eli left the fire and walked deeper into the forest. Calling softly, "Kiri, it's Eli. They've come. For you, you need to run." There was no answer. Then, suddenly, a rustle. A flash of silver fur, and then she was there, behind a tree, her eyes wide and full of fear. She stepped out slowly, her voice shaking. "They found me." Eli nodded. "They brought a bounty. They called you unstable, dangerous." Kiri looked down, her claws trembling. "They always come," she whispered, "no matter where I hide." "You don't have to run alone," Eli said. "We can go together." She shook her head. "You'll die, maybe," he replied. "But I'd rather die helping you than leave you behind." For a moment, Kiri looked like she would cry. But then her expression hardened. She turned and started walking. "Follow me," she said. "I know a place they won't go." They moved fast through the forest, Kiri leading him past glowing plants and deep pits, till they reached a broken sign covered in vines. It read, "Biohazard Quarantine Zone. Do not enter." "They won't follow here," she said. "Their tech fails inside." Eli hesitated for a second, then nodded. "Let's go inside the zone." The air felt different, heavy and warm. The trees glowed purple and red, and strange creatures moved without sound, but Kiri was confident. She moved like she belonged there, like the danger was a part of her home. They reached a large broken dome, half sunken into the ground, metal doors torn open long ago. "This is where I was made," Kiri said quietly. The lab inside was dark, full of broken machines and shattered glass. Eli walked beside her, careful with each step. There were old markings on the walls, alien words he couldn't read. But the pain in Kiri's eyes said everything. They said emotions were a defect. She whispered, "They wanted weapons, not hearts," when I cried. "They shocked me." Eli felt a tight knot form in his chest. "I'm sorry, Kiri," he said. "No one should go through that." She stopped in front of a tall stasis chamber covered in dust, the lights still faintly blinking. Inside was a second hybrid girls, smaller, younger, floating in blue liquid. Kiri placed her claw gently on the glass. "She's my sister." Eli's eyes widened. "She's alive." "Barely," Kiri replied. "I ran to protect her, but I couldn't wake her. I thought I'd lost her." The hunters would be coming soon. They had little time. Eli knelt by the panel, pulling wires, connecting his power cell. "I can. Try to restart this," he said. "It's old tech, but I've seen worse." Kiri stared at him. "You'd fix her? For me?" "I told you," Eli said softly. "You're not alone anymore, and for the first time." Kiri stepped forward. She rested her head gently against his shoulder, not growling, not blushing, just trusting. Outside, in the far distance, the jungle echoed with the sound of moving boots and beeping trackers. But inside that broken lab, something stronger than fear had begun to grow. The lab was quiet, too quiet. Eli wiped the sweat from his forehead as sparks flew from the control panel. He had connected wires, adjusted circuits, and fed power into the broken chamber. Kiri stood beside him, holding a small glowing crystal to light the work. Her gold eyes never left her sister's face inside the tank. The little hybrid floated still, her chest barely rising. Her fur was whiter than Kiri's, her form even smaller. But they looked alike, same sharp ears, same face, same sadness behind the eyes. "She's been sleeping for years," Kiri whispered. "They said she was too soft, too emotional." Eli frowned. "So they froze her instead of helping." Kiri nodded slowly. "They thought she was a failure. Like me. No, Eli said. Voice firm. You're not failures. You're proof that feeling pain doesn't make you weak. It makes you alive. The lights on the tank flickered. A soft hum began to rise. The chamber screen blinked, vitals stabilizing. Kiri gasped and touched the glass with both hands. Little one. She's waking. Just then, a warning flashed on Eli's scanner. Movement 4. Signals heading toward the biohazard zone fast. The bounty hunters had ignored the warning signs. They were coming anyway. We don't have time, Eli said, standing quickly. They'll find this place in minutes. Kiri's claws curled. We won't let them take her. Eli looked around the lab, searching for an exit. There was a maintenance tunnel under the floor. He remembered seeing a hatch earlier. Half covered in debris, this way, he called, pulling the cover off. It led into darkness, narrow but deep. We'll carry your sister. Kiri nodded, her eyes burning with determination. She opened the tank, wrapped her sister in a thermal blanket, and gently lifted her in her arms. The little girl stirred, eyes fluttering. Kiri whispered something in her language, soft and warm. The three of them climbed into the tunnel. It smelled of dust and rusted metal. The light from the crystal in Kiri's hand showed the way. Above them, footsteps echoed, metal boots on glass and stone. Voices called out. She's here. Scanner shows 3 life forms. They were being tracked. Eli moved fast, leading them through the maze of tunnels. The walls pulsed with faint green veins biotech grown into the rock. The deeper they went, the stranger the place became. Finally, the tunnel opened into a hidden chamber, a forgotten part of the lab, untouched by time. Strange pods hung from the walls, glowing faintly. Kiri looked around, surprised. I don't remember this, she whispered. Eli examined the chamber. The air was breathable, the power still alive. He saw something in the Centauran ancient core console. If he could rewire it, it might block the hunter's signals. Or maybe even create a false trail. You rest, Eli said. I'll handle this. Kiri laid her sister down gently and watched Eli work. She couldn't believe a human was doing all this for her. For someone who others had called a monster, no one had ever fought for her before. No one had stayed. Her claws slowly unclenched. Her body relaxed for the first time in years. Eli rewired the console, fingers moving fast. He activated a decoy pulse. The radar now showed 5 fake signals, running in 5 different directions. Up above, the hunters began to shout. They've split. Follow all paths. Confusion spread. Kiri smiled. You tricked them. Eli shrugged. Humans are good at 2 things, making mistakes and fixing them. They waited in the chamber for hours. The little sister finally opened her eyes fully. She looked up at Kiri and whispered, Sis, are we safe? Kiri nodded and held her close. You are now. Eli watched the 2 of them and felt something deep inside shift. This wasn't just about escape anymore. It was about family, about giving someone a second chance. As the hunters searched empty trails and false paths, the trio rested in the hidden chamber, and when it was time to move again, they wouldn't just be running. They would be fighting for a future. Together, the hidden chamber was silent. Only the soft hum of the machines and the faint breathing of the younger sister broke the quiet. Eli stood at the console, eyes fixed on the radar. The fake signals had scattered the bounty hunters, but it wouldn't last long. Kiri knelt beside her little sister, who was now fully awake. The girl blinked slowly, still weak, her small body wrapped in the thermal blanket. She looked up at Eli, confused. Who is he? She whispered, her voice soft and raspy. He's the one who didn't run. Kiri said gently, He's the one who helped us. The little one nodded once, then leaned her head against Kiri's chest. There was peace in her small smile. Eli felt something stir in his chest. He had come looking for alien tech to sell. Now, he was fighting to protect a family, but peace wouldn't last. Eli's radar flickered again. 2 hunters had turned back and were coming straight toward them. "They're closing in," he said, tightening the strap of his backpack. "We have to move." "No," Kiri said, standing up slowly. "They won't stop. Even if we run again, they'll just keep chasing." Eli looked at her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we fight." Eli paused, then gave a slow nod. "We make a stand." He quickly scanned the room, searching for anything that could help. The chamber was full of old biotech, half-grown tools and security nodes. He pulled out some power cells and connected them to the old defense grid. Kiri walked to one of the walls and pulled a weapon from a dusty rack, a curved plasma blade built for her kind. It hummed as it came to life in her hand. She looked. "Ready? You're sure you can fight?" Eli asked. "I don't want you getting hurt." She looked at him and smiled for the first time. Not a smirk, not a shy blush, a real smile. "I was born in a lab, trained in pain," she said, "but now I have a reason to fight." Eli set traps in the narrow tunnel leading to the chamber. Tripwires, smoke bursts, a pulse bomb rigged with a timer. He looked back at the 2 sisters one last time. "Stay close. Protect each other." The footsteps came fast. The hunters had found the hatch. They shouted in their language, and then boom. The first trap went off. Shaking the ground, smoke filled the tunnel. Lights flickered. Eli and Kiri moved together. He fired his blaster from behind cover. Kiri leaped like a shadow, blade flashing in the dim light. She didn't aim to kill, just to disarm, to show she was more than what they believed. One hunter fell back, hit by Eli's pulse bomb. The other charged forward straight into Kiri's path. They clashed hard. Sparks flew, claws scraped metal. Then, with one sharp move, Kiri knocked the hunter's weapon away and pressed the blade to his neck. "Do it," the hunter spat. "You're a beast, aren't you?" Kiri breathed hard. Her claws shook, but she lowered the blade. "No," she said softly. "I'm not what you made me." The hunter stared, shocked. He expected rage. He found mercy. Eli stepped beside her. "Blaster ready. Leave," he said coldly. "Tell the others what you saw. She's not yours anymore." The hunter nodded slowly, eyes still wide. He picked up his partner and limped away into the dark. They didn't look back. Silence fell once more. Eli turned to Kiri. "You okay?" She nodded, wiping her face. The little sister peeked from behind the console. Her voice shook. You didn't hurt them." "No," Kiri said, walking over. "Because we're not monsters." Eli smiled. "And maybe now they'll stop treating you like one." They spent the next few hours resetting the chamber. Kiri and her sister cleaned the space. Eli secured the entrance. They weren't just hiding anymore. They were building something. That night, they sat around a small fire in the lab. 3 souls, once broken and lost. Now together. Eli looked at them and said, "You're not alone." Kiri leaned against him lightly. "I know," she whispered, "because you stayed." And somewhere in the quiet hum of the old lab, a heartbeat continued, not from machines, but from hope. Days passed. The jungle outside was still wild and dangerous. But the hidden lab had become something else, a place of warmth, of light, of new beginnings. Eli worked every morning, fixing small systems, building a signal jammer to block trackers. He had even created a small solar heater for warm baths. Kiri helped him, learning to connect wires and repair broken tech. She was a fast learner, quiet but focused. Her claws were gentle, now not weapons, but tools. Her younger sister, whom they now called Minnie, followed them everywhere, still weak, still healing, but always smiling when Eli handed her warm soup or showed her the stars from a cracked dome above. Kiri had changed. She walked straighter now. Her steps didn't shake with fear, and her eyes held light, not just survival. One evening, as the sun dipped into purple skies and the jungle began to glow, Kiri sat beside Eli near the old fire pit. Minnie was sleeping beside them, curled in a soft blanket. "You know," Eli said, tossing a stick into the fire, "I came here just to find alien tech. Something to sell back at the colony." Kiri looked at him with a raised brow. "You found something," Eli smiled. "Yeah. Something worth more than any machine." She looked away, her fur-covered cheeks turning pink. That familiar blush that had once been hidden behind growls and fear. Now it came freely, and she didn't hide it. "I never trusted anyone before you," she whispered. "They always came with chains, with collars. They said I'd never be free." Eli looked at her and said, "You are now. No chains, no cages. No one to tell you what you are. You decide." Kiri looked down at her hands, her claws shining under the firelight. "I don't know what I want to be." Eli reached into his bag and pulled out a small box. It was metal, square and smooth. He opened it slowly and revealed a mirror. "Clean and unbroken. I brought you another one," he said. "The last one cracked during the fight." She stared at the mirror, then gently took it into her hands. Her reflection stared back. The silver fur, the sharp eyes, the soft blush. But something was different this time. This time, she smiled. It was small at first, unsure. Then it grew. A soft curve of her lips, her eyes crinkling slightly. A warmth that made Eli stop breathing for just a second. "That," he said, voice soft. "That's who you are." Kiri held the mirror against her chest and whispered, "Thank you." A faint beep broke the moment. Eli's comlink, blinking red. He tapped it quickly. It was a colony signal, faint but stable. "They're looking for me," he said. "Colony command." Kiri looked worried. "They'll come here." "No," Eli said, thinking fast. "We'll go to them in our terms." He stood up and looked around the lab. "We can't hide forever, but we can show them the truth." Kiri stood too, holding Minnie in her arms. "You think they'll accept us?" "I think," Eli said, "they'll believe what they see, and I'll make sure they see what I see." They traveled for 2 days, through thick jungle and quiet canyons. Eli carried supplies. Kiri led the way. Minnie sang softly in her language, her voice like a gentle wind at the edge of the human colony. Guards raised their weapons, then lowered them when they saw Eli, alive and unharmed. He stepped forward and said only one thing: "They are not enemies. They are not beasts. They are my family." There was confusion at first, whispers and warnings, but Eli told them everything. From the growl in the dark to the smile in the mirror, people listened. Some were afraid, but others were moved. Kiri stood beside Eli, not hiding anymore. Minnie held his hand tightly, and then Kiri stepped forward, looked at the crowd, and said, "My name is Kiri. I'm not what they made me. I just want to live." That day, the colony didn't cheer, but they didn't attack either. They gave them shelter, food, and a place to rest. A beginning weeks passed. Eli built a small home on the edge of the forest. Kiri helped design it. Minnie planted flowers outside, ones that glowed in the moonlight. One night, as they watched the stars from the roof, Kiri leaned her head against Eli's shoulder and whispered, "You saved me." He looked at her and replied, "No, you saved yourself. I just stayed long enough for you to see it." She closed her eyes and smiled, a real smile, a free smile. And somewhere deep in the jungle, the shadows no longer growled. Because the girl who once growled at the human had finally found her place, and it all began with a growl and a blush.